I loved people sharing their stories of what is possibly next or what is in their way to go next. Also, loved your story about Googling relevancy after 50.
Welcome to Women Leaders on the Move, a Her C-Suite radio podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Benamou, and every week I bring you inspirational stories and ideas to help you with the arc of your career. I'm also the founder of Her C-Suite, where we meet, engage, and thrive in meaningful ways in programs like our mastermind we're going to be talking about next today. We also do retreats and we do corporate events. I hope you'll check all of those things out at hercsuite.com. I'm so excited about today's conversation. I'm joined by Laurie Wessels. She's the CEO of the Wessels Group, and we're going to be talking about how to make decisions and how to know that you're not done yet with your career and what you want to do with your life. I am excited about this conversation, so let's get started now. Laurie, I'm so excited to welcome you to Women Leaders on the Move today. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Natalie. This is very exciting.
We haven't done a podcast in a minute, and I'm so excited that we are doing this today because we're coming off of Next, which is our mastermind. And boy, do we have a lot, I should say woman, we got a lot of things going on.
We sure do.
So the theme of this conversation is we're not done yet. And I mean, that was the energy that we had with these women today. And I just feel so uplifted from everyone that was with us today, right? Don't you?
I 100% agree. And I loved people sharing their stories of what is possibly next or what is in their way to go next. Also, loved your story about Googling relevancy after 50.
Those two things. So if you're curious about this, stay tuned. Before we get into all the details, Laurie, you've been on a journey, and I know that our listeners don't know the journey. So talk a little bit about the time that you left Chicago and what that's been like for you. And then we're going to dive in so that people have context for our conversation.
Absolutely. Well, I also was in the quandary of what's next and knew that I wanted to do some traveling. So I bought a camper, thinking I would just spend some time traveling and come back home. And after a bit, I realized, why have a home? After COVID, everyone seems to be doing it. Why can't I do it? And that is exactly what I did. I sold everything in Chicago and I semi live in my camper 80% of the time. Do have family commitments and other doctor's appointments, simple things like that that you have to have a base for. But on the most part, I just travel around. And luckily, I've been doing teaching online and I've been doing some executive coaching. Almost everything is virtual these days. And so I guess we can thank COVID for that. It forced us to be more flexible in terms of location and all of that. So I'm joining that trend of living on the road.
So interesting and fascinating. And I'm glad that you and I got to get together recently. So that was really fun. I got to see your Max, your vehicle that you're traveling around in, which is so great. I want to go to our conversation today because we're both so energetic about it. And I think women in a certain demographic in the third semester of our lives, and that would be close to 50 or over 50, we have been maybe dimming our light a little bit. And there's been some reasons for that. We might feel fear or not sure that we can do what we want, but we know what we want. What do you think about that? Why are we doing that?
I think it's human nature. We have always had the mentality that a job is equal security, that we have to have a certain income to protect our lifestyle. People value security. And when you are looking at what's next, it's an unknown. So it makes you feel afraid, uncomfortable. And when you have those emotions, you start doubting yourself. Like, I don't know if I can do that. I think there's a saying that women, when they look at a job description, find the one line that may not apply and they say, I'm not qualified. Whereas men find the one line that they actually are capable of doing and say, I got this. So there is a different mentality. And I think it has to do with that. What am I capable of doing? And how do I add value? And I'm not sure that we think about what our value is all the time. And not just, I get paid the salary, so that's my value. It's what are you giving of yourself that's changing the community, changing the organization, changing people around you. That's value, whether it's knowledge. People our age have so much institutional knowledge, they have so much industry knowledge, they have so much leadership experience. There's just a wealth. I feel like we don't leverage that at all. We go back to that lower feeling of what can I do? Meaning, what am I capable of doing?
which is your love like capable exercise. And so for listeners who are listening, Laurie has an amazing exercise that we encourage all of you, and it'll be in the show notes, to think about on your journey. And why don't you share how you look at that? And I think you said 30 days, but you could do it in a week. It doesn't have to be
Doesn't
30 days. You could
matter.
do it in a day.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to be in the right mindset for it to really flow. And so that's why I give yourself some time. But it's a very simple exercise. You have three columns. What do I love to do? What do I like to do? And what am I capable of doing? So often we start with what am I capable of doing? And that's okay. You can start anywhere you want, but you really need to think about it. What do I love to do? There's always things that, I like doing that, but would I love it? No, that just, if you're questioning it, it goes in like. After a certain whatever time it takes for you to do it, you'll start seeing a picture of these things. Wow, these are the things I love to do. How can I add value there? And that's why I say take your time, because you can start anywhere. I mean, obviously, the intellectual thinkers like myself, oh, here's what I can do. People who are feelers are going to go, I love this, I love that. So everybody has different style on how they process. But you got to go through the three column exercise. That's the bottom line, and see what comes together, because you never know.
You never know. And that's kind of what we were talking about this morning in our mastermind, about not just not knowing, but also how do we shift the reality because of our generation. And Lydia Roan, I'm going to give a shout out to her because she said something really, I thought, so thought provoking, that we may be the last generation that knows the difference between real, what's true, because of our experiences in our lifetime and the time frame that we grew up and that we were adults, young adults, to now where anything can change. There's so much untruth being shared in the world. And I thought that was so interesting to think about.
I agree. I was thinking about that too. When she said that, it really created, it's like we know what discrimination is, whether it's financial discrimination, whether it's sexual harassment, whether it's just the ignorance of people saying things like, how do you stay relevant after 50? Well, find someone to help you dress better. That's just ignorance at its best. Goes back to every single time, how do we add value? Because when we add value, we feel good. And more experienced women, particularly, have so much to share. And so, sponsoring, mentoring, coaching, there's so many ways to add value. And I believe when you're adding value, that's where your passion lies. Everybody wants to feel like they're adding value. I really do. And I can't think of a better group to add value.
Yes, I know. And so for our listeners, every first Friday of the month, we host a mastermind called Next, which we're going to have the subtext, we're not done yet, and the real reels, another subtext topic, but it's a group of women that talk about our real lived experiences, where we are and where we want to go, and what we envision of how we're adding value. And I think it's a misconception that when women reach a certain age that we're no longer relevant. And to your point earlier of that reference that you made, that I had actually had searched and said, how can women over 50 stay relevant? And I was looking for courses, right? That's what I was looking for. And instead, it was an article by a man who said, just ask a younger person how to dress better. What are you talking about? Sorry, but I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Insane.
Just...
Absolutely
So
insane.
we got on this topic and it got us fired up. And that's why we're here today and really thinking about women are not done. And we're such a valuable resource. We have so much value to add. And when we think about our value, it's about ourselves. What do we value first? You have to know that before you can give it. So you have to get really clear, I think, on understanding and feeling what is important to you with that exercise to be then able to shine your light out in the world, don't you think?
I agree 100%. When I think of all the women that I know, the collective intellectual and emotional knowledge is so vast. I really do believe women can run the world better, but even in our diverse world, there is so much value for us.
So much value.
We are not done yet. That is for sure. And we have to get out of our own ways.
We have to get out of our own way and we're not done. And so this is going to be the first of a series that Laurie and I are going to do. I love this idea that we'll be talking and inviting people, but I think that we're creating a movement for anyone that's thinking about if you feel like you have been diminished, if your light has been dimmed, your light is not dimmed. We want you to shine that light and know that you matter and that you have value, you add value at any age. And especially in the third semester of your life age, we have so much to give. I think so, right?
100%, Natalie, 100%. I'm very excited to continue this conversation.
Well, thank you, Laurie. Thank you for being on the show today. This has been so fun.
Loved it.
Thank you for spending your time with us today. I hope you feel as energized as I do about this idea that we're not done yet. If you are excited and want to learn more about all the mastermind programs we offer, including Next, go to hercsuite.com. And if you found this episode helpful, I would be so grateful if you would share it with a friend or colleague today, rate and review it on your favorite app. It's how people find us. Always remember, keep shining your light bright. The world needs you.